What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Talking. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Nothing But Knicks. This is your host, Jeff Crewman, making our first Knicks video this year now that the Giants are done for the year. And in general, just going to do a quick general reaction. The Knicks are 27-24 at this point in the season, getting close to the All-Star break, sitting at 7th place in the Eastern Conference, one game back of avoiding that play-in spot for the 6th seed. And they're kind of in this little jumble of teams with the Heat, the Hawks, the Wizards, the Bulls, and the Pacers, who are all kind of hanging around there looking for the play-in or that 6th spot in the playoffs. Obviously, a lot of time to go, and the season has been full of ups and downs already. But I will say, as a reaction, about halfway through the season, as a fan, this has just been a fun team to watch, and a team that has been easy to root for, especially in comparison to last year when there was a lot of seemingly drama and lack of cohesion on the court. This team is fun. It's really great seeing guys like Grimes and Miles McBride and Emmanuel quickly logging serious minutes for this team. Julius Randle is playing out of his mind right now, definitely looking like he is heading for an all-star appearance. And clearly the missing piece for a long time here has been Jalen Brunson. And we've been missing that point guard, that steady hand at the running the offense. And taking control of games down the stretch. Even though we've still struggled with that, having his presence, I think, has won us way more games than it's lost us. And it's been a piece that this team has been sorely missing for years now. A lot of room to grow still for this team. A lot of improvements. Still, definitely am expecting some trades to be made at this time, especially with how well we've been doing. But again, we are also in the middle of an incredibly challenging stretch of games. And, with the exception of probably dropping... And, looking at these recent games, it's been a little bit of a gauntlet that this team has been going through. But with the exceptions of the loss to Washington, and, you could argue it would have been nice to have picked one up against one of these games against Toronto. This has been a really tough stretch, and that we have been hanging in there and playing really well, coming off probably two of the best wins of the year against Cleveland and Boston. Obviously, a disappointing loss the other day against Brooklyn. But a lot to be excited about. Let's go ahead and jump on into the first topic, and that is that this has just been the Julius Randle show. I mean, at the beginning of the year, you had I was a little bit skeptical about how this was going to go. He wasn't looking good. He wasn't looking sharp. Still seemed to have a little bit of that edge that he was showing last year towards the fans, a little bit of this chip on his shoulder. But this guy has been out of his mind. Over the last 15 games, he's averaging 27 points, 13.7 rebounds, and 4.8 assists. So far this season, he has the second most defensive rebounds, which is just kind of insane, and the 11th most made threes. Obviously taking a lot of threes, but still making them, and it feels like most of the games we win, Julius Randle goes on some crazy run of threes in the first quarter to get us started. More importantly than just about any statistic I can find is that he has not missed a game. I mean, we talk about injuries across the league and load management, keeping these guys sharp. Julius Randle goes out there every night, plays a tough position, constantly handles the ball, plays, I'd say, most of the time hard defense, and he has not missed a game. He kind of always looks like a perpetually exhausted father, just like grinding himself into the ground. And he looks way older than his 28 years, according to the information on the internet. But he is playing absolutely great. He has been the symbol of durability so far this year, and just dominant physical play in the paint. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm watching Zion Williamson down there, just thrashing around, getting defensive and offensive rebounds, going up strong, making plays. Still complaining to the refs a little bit too much for my liking, but he has been an amazing piece for this team. Clearly, still the leader of this offense, even with Jalen Brunson's addition, and the ability and it also just feels like timely defense. Even though he has some off games, he knows when it's time to step up and when the team needs him, and he's shown up in the biggest moments for us so far this year. It's a long season. Everyone's going to have their clunkers, and Julius is no different. Part of me wishes that Tibbs would notice these clunkers coming a little bit sooner. It seems like it's pretty obvious early on when Julius doesn't have it on those rare nights. And love to see get a little bit more of Obi Toppin in there. But at the same time, Julius is your rock. He is your all-star. Hard to get away from him for a lot of minutes there, even on nights where he's struggling. But that would, if there was a critique to make, it would be for Tibbs to make sure to get him, manage his minutes a little bit down the stretch so he's good to go for the playoffs and not too exhausted like we saw a couple of years back. Moving on for a quick topic, just RJ Barrett, since coming back from that finger laceration injury, just really playing very solid, great footwork on defense. Seems like the shot is a little bit more confident. Just really been enjoying the way he's been playing since coming back from that injury. Obviously, a big piece as far as this team is going to go, it is going to be that combination of Barrett, Randle, and Brunson taking us there. So continuing to see him mature and grow, with the pressures of signing the big contract that he did during the offseason. He's been a notoriously slow starter, but really since then, he's been playing very well. And since coming back from that injury, been a really good piece. Excited to see him hopefully take another step forward going into the All-Star break in the second half of the season. Really want to see him step up the rest of the way. And I think we have to talk about Emmanuel quickly. Earlier in the year, he was the topic of trade rumors, much to the chagrin of the fan base, especially on Twitter. Reports are that they're not looking to trade him right now, which, you have to feel like makes a lot of sense. His defense and shooting has looked fantastic. His advanced defensive metrics have really been off the charts. And he is a sneaky candidate for Sixth Man of the Year right now. I looked it up, and the odds in Vegas has him 13th in the Sixth Man of the Year award running right now. Quick too, Quick's been dealing with this nagging knee injury that made him miss his first game of the year recently. Hopefully that's not a big problem. He has just been a phenomenal piece coming off the bench. Could make an argument to see him in the starting lineup a little bit more, maybe depending on how things go over the next several weeks. But you see him a lot down the stretch playing with the starters in closeout opportunities for the game. Clearly, Tibbs trusts him. This seems like a piece that we want to have moving forward. Just, a phenomenal draft pick. Seems like a great kid. And really just loving what Emmanuel Quickley's bringing to the floor right now. All right, now kind of getting away from the specific players, going to talk a little bit about the defense in general. And this is not going to be a hot take by any stretch, but when we play good defense, we win games. And frankly, since we lost Mitchell Robinson about a week and change ago, the defense has just not looked the same. It's really been a struggle to get protection in the paint. As much as I've wanted Hartenstein to show up and Jericho Sims, they're just not consistent enough and don't have that shot blocking ability on a consistent basis to really scare opposing offenses. And despite singing the praises of Julius Randle's despite singing the praises of Julius Randle's rebounding, the team in general has struggled since Mitchell has left. Feels like way too many second chance opportunities for opposing offenses. Just really letting them have their way in the paint. Just too many second chances, allowing teams to stay in games where we have a lead or letting games kind of get out of control and don't give us a chance to come back in. Hopefully Mitch is back right after the All-Star game. That the 3-week timetable from his injury leads us right to the All-Star game. So hopefully we see him come back feeling good, feeling healthy, ready to contribute down the stretch, and we can hang in there these last couple weeks before the All-Star break. And that brings us to a topic I really wanted to talk about, which is definitely on the And that brings us to a topic that I felt like we need to address, which is just this team's inability to really close out games. Even in ones that we win, like the one against Cleveland, the game against Boston, it seems like we are in control of the game. And with about 5 minutes or less to go, we go into this like prevent offense, like we're playing defense in the NFL. It's just not working. And, despite what I was saying before about Brunson being that, solid piece down the stretch in fourth quarters helping us close out games, the amount of times I've seen him or Julius Randle dribble the ball at the top of the key with 4 or 5 minutes to go in a 8 to 12 point game is starting to make me sick. They still just have to run the offense, have confidence, keep putting the pressure on these teams, and not thinking they have it won with 5 minutes to go. It's just it's just too many minutes in this NBA. Can't play this prevent offense. It seems like forever that Tibbs just didn't really acknowledge this. And I heard him after, I think it was the Boston game, make a comment about how the offense has to be faster down the stretch. Can't have these games where we're just trying to run the clock out against really good teams. Boston is, the class of the league right now. If they had come back losing by 10 to us, I would not have been surprised with only a handful of minutes left, but I am surprised when it is coming the way that it is. And again, that we're just milking the clock and then not getting off good offense. This team is good when we are moving the ball and when we have guys moving without the ball, creating good shots, getting that extra pass. And you just, again, it works a lot of the time during the game, but when the defense just knows that Jalen Brunson is going to go one-on-one or Julius Randle is going to wait to go one-on-one at the last second, it's too predictable, and it's allowing teams to stay in these games. We're going to have to get that right by the time we get to the playoffs. And last but not least, wanted to talk about some potential trades with the trade deadline coming up in early February. Seems like this team is really in a position where we should make a win now type of trade. Seems like the rotation has really gotten slim, especially with Mitchell Robinson going out. We're clearly not going to be playing Cam Reddish. Evan Fournier is a desperation piece at the back of the bench. And even Obi Toppin isn't really getting the minutes for a first-round pick who was seemingly indispensable in the trade during the offseason. I think it's no surprise at this point that the Cam Reddish trade is going to go down as a major bust. We gave up a conditional first-round pick to get him from the Hawks last year, and despite a little bit of a flash earlier this season, he really has just not materialized in the way that you would expect for giving up a first-round pick. I'm reading that we might get a second-round pick and a player back for a Cam Reddish, which again, considering we gave up a first-rounder, doesn't really feel like commensurate value at this point, but he's clearly not going to be getting in the game, so I'd rather, for his sake and the team's sake, see us get rid of him, get that second-round pick and a player back, and start to move on. Evan Fournier, I think a lot of fans did not love that contract when he first signed with us. And despite putting up a lot of threes last year, he's also just relegated to the back of the bench, only getting in the most desperate of times. I read in a post-game interview recently, he commented about wanting to be a part of the future of this team. It's a little surprising considering we've only put him on the bench. But similarly, I don't know what kind of value we're going to get from him. I don't know what kind of value we're going to get for him, but it feels like the kind of move you almost have to make at some point. I'm glad that the organization and Tibbs has not felt obligated to continue playing him because of his salary. It was clearly the right move to move away from him and give Grimes and quickly more of the minutes. I'm not sure what kind of trade partner is going to appear for Evan Fournier, not really hearing a lot on the rumor mill about teams interested in him, but we'll see. It seems like he's had a good attitude about being on the bench, considering he's been a star and a starter most of his career, and hopefully we'll find a place for him to go, or he can continue to be, a part of this team on the bench. And the last piece we're going to talk about is actually not a player I want to trade, which is Obi Toppin. Our first round pick from a few years ago. seemingly was an indispensable piece during trade talks in the offseason this past year. But this year, and again, coming off of an injury, but just not seeing that consistent playing time when the team defaults to Julius Randle getting more minutes, which again, can't really blame them for going to Randle more often. With the way he has been playing of late, but Obi being a first rounder with that kind of talent, just really disappointing to see him only getting like maybe 10 minutes a game. That brings me back a little bit away from the day-to-day part of the team and back to roster construction, which was, why draft a guy like Toppin when you've got a guy like Randle, you want to play 35 to 40 minutes. Just seems like not good balance. I think Toppin's going to have a great career somewhere. Feels like we're not utilizing that bounce that he has. Just putting him in the corner, letting him shoot threes. I don't particularly want to trade him, but if a trading partner were to appear where we got great value back at positions where there's more of a need, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It feels like his trade value can't possibly be high enough right now to make that move, but just questions about what the future of Obi Toppin with the Knicks looks like. Would like to see him at least be getting some more minutes so he can be showing off some of his ability. There's still a lot of games left down the season. Julius Randle can't play every night. He can't play the kind of minutes he's played every night and be fresh down the stretch. Hopefully Toppin gets some more minutes. I really want to see him continue to grow and blossom. He's been so fun when he's been out there, and just want to continue to see him grow in the blue and orange. So that's going to be a wrap on the first episode of Nothing But Knicks. We got a few games coming up this week. Tuesday, January 31st against the LA Lakers at home, and then Thursday, February 2nd against the Miami Heat at home. A couple tough games before seeing the LA Clippers and 76ers this coming weekend. That's been the episode. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed these videos, and we will be back with more Knicks videos for you very soon. Until then, peace.